Ready to go?
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Gail Thacker, and I would like to share a few things before we get ready for a discussion between two of our most influential artists at the forefront of gender queer visual politics, or like I say, visual activism. Lola Flash and Alice O'Malley. Woo! Okay, before I start with my ideas and talking, I'm going to read the bio so we're all on the same page. Working at the forefront of genderqueer visual politics for more than 4 decades, photographer Lola Flash's work challenges stereotypes in gender, sexual and radical preconceptions. An active member of ACT UP during the time of the AIDS epidemic in New York City, Flash was notably featured in the 1989 Kissing Doesn't Tell, Greed and Indifference Does. Their art and activism are profoundly connected, fueling a lifelong commitment to visibility and preserving the legacy of the LGBTQIA+ communities of color worldwide. Flash has work is included in important collections such as Victoria and Albert Museum in London, MoMA, the Whitney, the National African American Museum of History and Culture in DC, and the Brooklyn Museum.
And the Leslie Lowen Museum.
Now, Alice O'Malley is an image maker, best known for their portraits of New York City's downtown demi-monde. Did I say that? Alice's pictures have been exhibited, collected, and published worldwide. They teach at the International Center of Photography and are represented by the John Marchant Gallery in Brighton, UK. All right. I think that care and insurgency are necessities in art. I see this as the essence of both Lola and Alice and their photography. So when Aldo told me about his idea of exhibiting Lola and Alice together and how they both had slideshows, I was excited. It is an important and necessary idea. Aldo was one of the DJs at the Click Club, a big part of the queer nightlife scene and the dyke scene in the 90s, and good friends with Lola during their involvement with ACT UP, so he knew the subject. I met Alice at the turn of the century and Lola a little later. The three of us have photographed some of the same people and shared some of the same friends. There is a crossover among us. We are connected through this large queer community or extended family. That's you. Like Lola and Alice's close friend, the late Sharon Nesp, who, if she was sitting here right now in the audience, she would be in the front row and say, "Hi, Lola. Hi, Alice." And they would reply, "Hi, Granny," and carry on. Sharon was a movie star in John Waters' films and sat by the deathbed of her lover and friend, Cookie Muller, during the AIDS epidemic. Big part of our family. I never hung around the Click Club, which you will learn so much about in a minute, except for a couple of times when I went to drink and I stumbled in the bar. That was called the bar room, not knowing it was something else. But I laugh as I look back because someone said to me as I was leaving, "How did you like the Click Club?" And I was like, "Oh, how rude." Years later, Alice talked about the Click Club, and I didn't blink an eye about the comment until I found out later it was located at Mother, and I put 2 and 2 together. Now looking at these images, all the stories that I've heard come to life. To quote Alice from her interview with John Marchant Gallery in the UK, so this is what the Click Club really is. The Click Club was a notorious lesbian bar in the meatpacking district in the early 90s. It was a different kind of party. For one, it was produced by women of color, and because it was sex positive. There were go-go dancers on the bar, X-rated videos downstairs, leather dykes, high femmes, and women dressed up to go out. It was the area of lesbian chic. I knew some of the people in those images. And in Lola's Legend series, I know them too. I remember when Lola was working on the Legend series and she came to the theater to meet Paul Alexander. You know, I really feel at home looking at this exhibition. It brings me to joy and pain. By the time 1985 hit, I was starting to count dead bodies. It got very lonely and painful. I wish I had gone to these places for the camaraderie. I am really happy to see the lesbian nightlife and the gay activism during this period. It is really a visual testament to the community's resilience and creativity. You see, my best friend passed away in 1989 of AIDS, and in the 80s and 90s, friends dropped in rapid succession. So when I look at these images of the marches and the quilts and the color reversal prints, it brings me to those feelings of friends making quilts and demonstrations and the art scene and all of that joy, but it also brings up that feeling of being alone and feeling helpless. I just want you to understand the feeling back then and how courageous these images are because of it. Everybody was weirded out. There was a lot of drugs, and my friends and I were gay or freaks. It was the early 90s, and I was in the South Bronx. I watched doctors and nurses refuse to clean my friends. Ambulance drivers refused to touch somebody on the cot to get in the ambulance. But these images seem familiar, like people I have known and loved. I returned to New York City in 1998, and in 2001, I was at the Jean Frankel. About this time, I met Alice, who influenced me on care and community, and soon downtown characters and elite walked in my door, including Lola Flash, who I became a fan and friend. I think this area in photography has been overlooked for too long, and I think this exhibition creates such a monumental occurrences of the queer community, defined not only by what they do, but the quality of their aspirations. It is who we are. A resilient and creative community. I want to congratulate both of these artists on their careers. Lola's work being acquired by major museums like the MoMA, and Alice, 2 exhibitions in UK. I'm going to end with a quote from Lola. I was really inspired when they quoted Lorraine Hansberry at the awards ceremonies at Baba Boom. I feel the playwright and this quote are important to this exhibition. It's important to me. Lola read from Act 1, Sydney to Dave, in Lorraine Hansberry's A Sign in Sidney Bernstein's Window. I care. I care a lot. I care about it all. It takes too much energy not to care. Yesterday, I counted 26 gray hairs on the top of my head, all from trying not to care. The why of why are we here is an intrigue for the adolescents. The how is what must be commanded of the living, which is why I have lately become an insurgent again, end quote. Care and insurgency are a necessity. This is what I see as the essence of both Lola and Alice. Now I'm going to sit down and give it up to Aldo.
Thanks, Gail. Welcome, everybody. I'm really honored that Alice and Lola are here. And I just want to say, it was Alice who ran into me riding bicycles on First Avenue that said, I have this slideshow, and are we interested in it? And I said, yes. And then I talked with Lola, being I knew that she had showed slides of a similar time, and just something about it felt like the kind of juxtaposition, or I just envisioned what they ended up putting together. So I spoke to both of them, and they both happily agreed to collaborate, to be together in this slideshow, and each of them decided what they would augment their slideshow with on the walls. So that's how we came about to this. It was definitely a collaborative project. So how we're going to move in the next 40 minutes is I'm going to bring up a few questions that I'm curious about that I hope that they want to share with the audience their answers. And then they'll answer those or not, and then they're each going to speak to their slideshows. So we'll show one artist and then the other their slideshows, and they'll be talking freely, however they choose to speak about them. And then after that, they're each going to speak briefly about the other's artwork, their photography, briefly. And then we'll take some questions, okay? And then we have refreshments. So with that, so I thought of a few things that I thought were, to me, important as far as why were these photos taken, when were they taken, and how were they taken. And so some of the things I'm proposing for the two of you to answer, either in answers now or in your talk, is how did you become interested in photography?
Should we, okay. I don't know, I can't remember, it just happened. It was just like I don't know, I can't answer that. It just happened.
Really? Okay.
I have no idea.
For me, I got a camera when I was a kid. My mom's boyfriend at the time gave me a little Minox camera. They were like these little cameras. And so I was just, I don't know, young, like 8 or 9. And it was like a toy for me. I was an only child, and I still am an only child. And so, you know, I feel like I kind of grew up framing the world. I didn't take really very political images starting off. I took pictures of my kissing fish and when they would kiss in the tank. And, you know, just kind of random stuff. I really didn't understand the power of photography until later on, and that's how I started.
Okay, and when did it become serious?
Well, for me, I think in high school, because my mom gave me a 35 millimeter camera, and then she gave me a darkroom. And so I think the darkroom was the thing that really hooked me, and that's when I decided I needed to go to college because everyone was like, where are you going to college? What are you going to be doing? And I was like, I don't know. So I thought photography. So it was just really kind of like that. So I decided to go to college for photography, because I realized that I didn't want to be like, to be honest with you, I felt like photography in my mind was like for like kind of like old white guys. And so I really thought I didn't want to like wait till I got old. And so I thought, I'm going to go for it and become a photographer like from the jump.
I mean, same. As soon as I saw that chemistry, that magic that happened in the dark, in the safe light, and the black and white dark room was just like, wow. And also, I think one of the things that for me with photography, I was always tinkering with things. I like to make things. I like to fix things. I like to make machines. I was always building something. So for me, the camera was like this machine, and it was just to manipulate it.
That's really funny, because I used to always make car toys. Like every Saturday I'd go and get like a car kit, and I'd put them together.
Yeah, make things.
Alice, did you process this photographs in your slideshow?
Yeah, so that's actually part of the story of, this body of work, which isn't up right in front of you right now, but will be, is all, mostly in the nightlife, and meaning the nightclubs in New York. And I would come home, I worked at the Click Club, so I would come home at whatever, after 4 a.m., just amped, because there was just so much energy, and so couldn't go to sleep. So the first thing I would do is process film at 5 in the morning in my kitchen, and so some of the film's a little rough, but depending on my state of mind, but I know that I would literally do it in the middle of the night, yeah. And
you used black and white, so what type of film were you using?
So that was, most of this is 3200 T-Max, which is a very high speed, so you'll see the grain. It's a lot of grain because often I was shooting without a flash. Occasionally you see a flash, but a lot of this is existing light or ambient light, yeah.
And what type of camera were you using for those shots?
I think this is like a Nikon FM, you know, some sort of like very durable 35 millimeter, the kind that you could just drop and it would still be okay, yeah.
That's cool. I also was working with a Nikon at the same time, and I was shooting with Provia or Ektachrome. Yeah, Ektachrome. I always shot with slides, but yeah, I was shooting with Ektachrome.
So transparency, and were you self-developing too?
No, but I did use this, sometimes for the Click Club, I think there's a couple pictures from the Sirens that's in my, I used this Polaroid film. You were able to process it right away. So a similar kind of thing, I would photograph and then come home and process it.
And to speak to your cross-color that time, you did do those yourself in the darkroom, or did you send them out?
Oh, yeah, so the film was processed by the company,
right.
And then I would print those in the darkroom, yeah. When I was here in New York, there were like a lot of labs on around the 30s, and I would rent a darkroom and print there.
Okay. I'm going to save a couple of the questions for the end about advice to anybody and favorite or inspiring photographers. Those two final things we'll save for the end. But one thing I'll say before they start speaking to their slideshows, I'd like you to share how those particular photos came about, what crosses your mind when you see them again tonight, and especially the images that you recently rediscovered, because in our conversations in last month, we each had conversations where certain images, you know, they'd be like, oh, I found this amazing image. So I thought that was an interesting development as far as for them and yourselves, because you're getting to see some things that were just rediscovered or shown. So sort of recounting about those places during those times, the clubs, the protest friends, and the performers. So Lola, we're gonna show your slideshow first, and then followed by Alice O'Malley and their slideshow. And then after that, I'll ask the couple short questions, and then we'll take questions. And they are gonna speak to each other's work after.
I wonder if we do have some children here, just to know that it is PG-13.
Hey? Oh.
Yeah.
It's on the door. We did.
Maybe XXX. I don't know. So just be. You're okay, but just maybe go work on your phone over there for a minute.
Right. So these are images from the Click Club, and oh, look, there's Julie and Alistair. And can anyone remember those two guys?
So do we need to know what the Click Club is? Does everybody know what we're talking about? I mean, I guess we did say it. Early 90s, New York Meatpacking District.
Yeah, the Click Club opened at the end of July in 1990. This began by Jaguar Mary and Julie Tolentino, who basically ran it for the entire decade. And we all worked there at one time or another.
And so I was a bartender. I was partners with Julie Tolentino at the time, and like these were two girls that I met at the bar, and so I would say to them like, hey, because I did slideshows, you know, for the back in the day, that's what we used to do. There were slideshows for clubs. At clubs, that was part of the entertainment, and so I would always say, hey, you want to be in the slideshow? You know, people would be like, because back then, you know, it was like. It opened in the 90s? Really?
What, the Click Club?
Yeah.
In end of July 1990 was the first party.
Okay.
It was, yeah.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah, you guys called me to come over and spin some records.
Right, yeah. And so anyway, during that time, a lot of people really weren't out. And so I would say, you know, want to be in the slideshow? Like, you'll be green or orange or blue, and so no one's going to really know who you were. And so in some ways, I think, like, that's me and Julie. That's my butt. So I think in some ways, I didn't really think about it at the time, but it feels as though by doing that, by using that process, it was also a way to let people be a part of the you know, the movement and not be out. So I think that's one thing about ACT UP. We outed people sometimes. I never really liked that part about it. You know, I think that people should be out. and there's still some stars that aren't out, and we all know that they're gay. But I feel like that's something personal. You should, if you don't want to be out, then you shouldn't. But I think you should. That's me for self-portrait. So these are all stuff that I would have shown at the Click Club. And basically what I was doing was using the wrong paper. So like I said, I shot on slides and then I printed on negative paper. So everything is the opposite. There's me and my big business. And so my skin tone is warm, so it came out blue, right? This is Melissa on the beach. It was a really overclassy day, but that's one of the cool things about cross colors. Like sometimes you didn't have to have the best light. And then I could push it to whatever I wanted to. So this one I was able to, I kind of just pushed it to really blue. I feel like maybe I dialed in a lot of yellow, but because everything's the opposite, I can't really remember. But I do have actually like my book that I used to use in the darkroom to make sure to remember all the different numbers that I would dial in. So this would have been some of the Polaroid film. The Sirens we used to always go, I feel like it was on Saturdays. It doesn't really matter what day. We used to go, we'd meet in front of the Click Club and we would go riding and go to these different places upstate and kind of, people would be like, whoa, what's happening? But to be honest with you, we'd end up at a diner and people were first kind of like, what the hell? And then they were like, oh, I have a pub. Why don't you come to my pub and play some pool? And so, we ended up making friends wherever we went. But it was really fun. So that's me. That's me when I was in my early 30s. I just moved to London. These are some more. So these are all the London chapter. And I stayed in London. I was only going to be there for 2 months, but I ended up staying there for 12 years. I met these wonderful women. I was really into SM, or what do they call it now? The young people call it BDSM now or something like that. I call it SM still. And so I had a lot of different women that really were so ready to be photographed by me. And I also did, like these people here. This was in Hampstead Heath, which was like a real cruising area for guys. So I was kind of like working towards reclaiming it for us girls. So as you can see, they were really up for pretty much anything. But these would have been like, I would have put some like acetate. These are like some of the club shots that I continued doing club slideshows. And because there was no Photoshop, I would use like acetate to put over them just to make them look different. That's an old girlfriend, Vic. We're still good friends, just like a good lesbian. I'm friends with all of my exes. So more about the cross colors, that it really, I started it when I was in college, and my teachers were like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. But I started thinking about like the fact that, obviously black becomes white. So if I took a picture of a black cat, it would be white, it would be a good cat. So growing up as a young black person, I was really aware that black people were different and we were criminals. And, like if you think about what the media says about us folks, it's like not really that positive. And so the idea of black always seemed bad to me. So in my photographs, black was white. So white people became bad, right, because they turned black, and black people became good because they turned white. There's a picture of Martina Navratilova, and because I love tennis, and my dad used to always take me to the US Open, and there's a picture I have of her serving, and the crowd is all black because it's cross colors. So I think that, photography for me, or art, to be an artist, is a way to use your imagination and a way to have others see the world that you would like to see. And my friends were really very into it. All my friends, Aldo including, were like, here, this is like, I found a good corner, or that would be great for cross color. So my friends started kind of seeing in cross color. And I did that for about 20 years, and people were like, you're still doing that weird color? And I'd say yes. So for 20 years I did it. I don't know, it never really caught on. And I think that some of it has to do with the fact that there weren't computers, there wasn't Photoshop. Black and white was like, when you think about the arts, black and white was kind of a new art, right? And then color came in, and then here you have me doing this weird color that at that time, I didn't feel the need to explain it to people. You know, when I was young, I was like, you know, like it or lump it kind of thing. And I just think that, you know, people just weren't ready for that. And, you know, I think that even in ACT UP, I really wasn't in any of the ACT UP shows. I think because it didn't seem like it was documentary. Also, I wasn't really a very like loudmouth, and so I was just, you know, and also I was very, you know, consumed by activism, and, you know, as Gail was saying, by so many of my friends being diagnosed one day, and it seemed like the next day that they died. So even when I think about a lot of the work that I did around my ACT UP stuff, I have a lot of slides, but I didn't print a lot of it because I was so busy either demonstrating on the streets or, you know, at a funeral, or Julie and I used to always go to the hospital to did you used to do that too, sometimes go? Yeah, so we would.
St. Vincent's.
Yeah, we would go to St. Vincent's when Ray in particular was in the hospital, and we had like a sort of round-the-clock care. So Julie and I would go after she finished working at Quick, the club.
Would go
Quick.
late at night for
Yeah, we did from 4 to 8, and then his mom would come in from 8 to whatever, and that was because we couldn't afford, you know, round-the-clock care, and sometimes he would try and get out of his bed, and he was too weak to get to walk, so he would have hurt himself. And we used to always say, Julie and I were always like, oh, I can't wait to tell Ray like what we're doing, because, you know, we'd be there in our club clothes and everything, and, you know, and of course he never got better. So there we are, Julie and I. It's such an iconic image. Like in some ways, it doesn't really feel like it's really me. Again, that was done in 1989, and we were, you know, we probably went there to do the photograph, and then we probably either went to a funeral or went to a meeting. You know, even if we had Instagram now, I like to tell the young folks, we wouldn't have been like checking to see how many likes we had. I mean, we were just so engrossed in it. And that's in fact the reason why I left New York, because I just couldn't take it anymore. Well, one thing, Julie and I broke up, so my heart was crushed. And then, you know, just with so many deaths, I you know, it was supposed to be just for two months, my trip to London, but it ended up being 12 years. And like I said, I met all these wonderful women who just took me in, and you know, there, like here, no one like goes to, you know, go to people's houses, right? But there, like everyone invites you over for a cup of tea, and you know, a cup of tea is good for when you're sad or when you're happy, or it's just like, want a cup of tea? And so I think I just like that kind of feeling of being embraced by this new community and going over their houses. There's something special, and it was very different from New York. That last one was Catherine Soulfield. I just put these in to just kind of so you can see like the difference, you know. This was probably a kind of more straightforward, where the colors were pretty much the same reversed, and the same with this one. And I remember when I saw this was one of the first time that the quilt was shown in Washington, and I just remember seeing the flash there, and it just kind of stopped me in my footsteps, you know, because I was just thinking, wow, that, you know, that could be me, you know. Just more and more demonstrations. So yes, I felt like the cross color really worked with the AIDS activism. You know, like this looks like sort of like hell. You know, so I think the colors really worked well in those things. Oh, look, there's Aldo. This was in the Lower East Side. And Jake. Yeah, I couldn't find the reverse one of that, but I thought it'd be kind of cool. Just more and more people. This was, I don't remember her name. And that's the other thing I think about analog, is that, I don't know about you, but I don't know a lot of the people's names. I don't remember a lot of the people's names. Now with digital, of course, you put the names on your files, right, on your folder. But back then, it's like, it didn't really have that. That was in Paris. I used to work, when I lived in London, I worked for a pink paper, and I would go to different countries for Pride. And these are just really some old shots. So Alice and I it's almost sort of like my work ended here and Alice's work started there. I wasn't working at the Click Club when you did. I had left the country already. So it kind of feels like in some ways like your work picks up from where I left off in some ways, especially to do with, you know, the States. Oh, that was Julie again. Yeah, so I don't normally show like normal color from that period, but I just thought in the context of this show, it would make sense to show these kind of things. Yeah, and so other than the cross color, you see some other images here. When it came to, when the new century came, I decided that I wanted to stop doing cross color because no one seemed to really like it. It wasn't really, so I just kind of put it on my bed for about 40 years. And I started working with the 4x5 camera, which is some of those two images over there. I went to college, went back to college. I got my master's in London, and I decided that that was a good place to sort of start creating images with normal color. And I can remember my first critique, like I was like sweating because like the sky was blue and the clouds were white, and I was just like, what the heck? You know, it was just kind of like really weird. How am I doing on time? Am I getting to my 15
You're great.
minutes?
I mean, your slides are still going,
Okay.
and I think we're good. We know that it's not too long.
Yeah, this is when we got arrested at City Hall.
City Hall, yeah.
And I remember they put us, you know, they always had like the boys in one cell and the girls in the others, and we were singing. And I remember that was, this is one of the ones I love, of Tracy Litz, of me and Julie. And just the idea of community and how we didn't even think it was like weird to like bring Ray and Anthony along, you know what I mean? It was just like they wanted to go and we did that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't weird at all. It's just like, that's what we did. There's the last one.
Is that a campaign for rubbers?
Yeah. So I did some, when I went to London, I did some stuff with GMHC in London. Yeah.
So yeah.
I can kind of stop it there, I think.
Now we're going to set up Alice's slideshow, and yeah, you can work with the microphone.
Hello. Come on in. There's some chairs over here. If you guys are, you gonna stay? 'Cause there's. Okay, so this is the entrance to the Click Club. If any of you were there, it was 432 West 14th or Washington. I don't know. It was on the corner. And I worked as a co-check, which means I was in the basement. This was also an old sort of warehouse building. Now it's like across from Diane von Furstenberg and all that. Now it's all that. But back then it was really quiet. Quiet is not quite the word, but let's say it wasn't a tourist destination. Okay, it was more, that neighborhood was primarily butchers, because there was a lot, it was literally the meat packing district. So the trucks would come in at 4 in the morning as we were leaving, and with the pigs, mostly pigs. And there were many also sex workers. That was an area that many trans sex workers actually. So sometimes some of the girls would come into the club, or we'd cross over at the bagel shop on 14th Street. Everybody, after the clubs were closing, would go there. Or Florent around the corner for breakfast. It was a 24-hour restaurant. So there was an ecosystem down there that made sense to those of us who were like the night. Again, don't know all these people. This woman was from Australia, I remember that. But because I was in the basement and because I had a job, and to be fair, in all my time as the co-check, I never lost a coat. So I took my job very seriously. There's Catherine Softfield,
yeah.
And Tatiana, who last I knew was living in a tree in the Northwest, is protecting the tree. Andrea Bourgeois, has anybody heard from Andrea? I've reached out to her number. Anybody know where Andrea is? I don't know them. By the way, some of these people I really don't know, and I'd love to be able to share this with them. So I know Andrea and Shuggy was here at the opening. Nico, who is Nico, and DM. So, and Tony C., who's over in the West Village, great DJ, and also wrote many songs for Whitney Houston. So it was, you know, a very vibrant club, and all kinds of, some celebrity. I know Madonna was there. I know Stephen Meisel was there, if anybody cares. Delete. And I don't know everybody who was there, but it was really sort of the place to be, I think. And also you couldn't, I guess, although you can speak to this, but I think cis men weren't allowed in without.
That's right. Yeah, cis men were not allowed in unless they were with a woman that they deemed could be in the click club environment. So if a straight couple came in, unless they had a real good connection or vibe, they weren't coming in. Also, there was a limit to the number of men, and what I called palm trees, no offense, but really tall men. And I know because I was a DJ a lot of times, or even a friend, what would happen is they'd plant themselves in the middle of the room. And that didn't always work if they weren't feeling it, the same way that the rest of the really energized crowd of different people in the room, mostly women. So it could be a thing, but sometimes it was great. So a lot of certain guys did get in quite a bit, and other ones unfortunately didn't, even if they were cool, because there had to be some sort of way to keep it more of a women's space.
So now we're moving into the drag king stuff. So now I'm not in the coat check anymore, so I have more range to move around. And this is Rebecca Field, who was married to Pat Field. So this is mostly Club Casanova, which was on Avenue B. There's Moby Dick and Murray Hill and one of the Backdoor Boys. So I was able to see more performance, and it's some of the same Dread. Some people that were at the Click Club that I might have known there, but now I think we're moving a little bit more to the East Village. Or this is coming up the Drag King Ball. Oh, there's Dee Finley, who is an angel now, just this year. Sharon Jane, and I don't know the other person's name. Very performative because it's sort of the counterpoint to drag queens, although there's always been passing women or transmasculine, but in this case it was a little bit more performative. That's Diane Tour, who's Scottish and also an angel, and who was the one that did drag king workshops, and she used to take a group of drag kings to like Billy's Topless for the night, you know, and they'd all hang out and watch the Go-Go Girl. So now it's the Pyramid. Now we're moving into a little bit more, again, still performance because it's Black Lips. I'm particularly interested in the stage now. Hattie and Paul Alexander, who's in Lola's Legends. Chi-Chi, who hosted Jackie 60 and Mother, that's Michael T. And these are just every week, the parties were in the same, actually these parties were in the same spot as the Click Club, Joey Arias and Dance Noise. So maybe, I don't even remember, but one night would be Mother, one night would be Jackie 60 and Meat. Aldo had, what night were you, Aldo?
Meet was on Saturday night.
Saturday.
First, 90 through 94, yeah.
And Click and Drag, and it was...
Click and Drag came later in the decade, yeah.
Here's Voluptuous Horror of Karen Black, Nicole Eisenman and Lori Weeks doing, and Lucy Sexton, Lucy, an amazing performer, doing some craziness. There's Connie Girl and Lucy Sexton, and Annie Obst with Dance Noise, and Aunt Lucy Sexton. Lavinia Co-op, and who is on the right? Anybody?
Is that what, Ryan Landry?
Is it right? Somebody else said that, yeah. Penny Arcade and her troupe. Amanda Lepore, of course. I mean, just the genius of the Eileen Miles. it was always just so it's smart. You know, the stuff coming off these stages was Lavinia Co-op, who's in London now, Dee Finley, who's in heaven, I guess.
Yes.
Yes, I'm kidding. Lily of the Valley. The dueling bankhead, so Clark is an angel. Oh, we should put Clark, I think he's not in the list. Anoni and Baby D. Tri-Bait out of San Francisco, but they hung out in New York. Lenny came to New York, getting a blowjob on stage. Chloe Zubailo and I want to say Annette, but that might not be right. Lady Bunny, Arlene. That was Arlene with Chloe doing the Transistors. The late great Dean Johnson, the Velvet Mafia. Taboo and Kenny. Yeah. Cash is in the house right now. So here's like a transition into daylight. Now I'm going out of the nightlife into, by day we were, a lot of us running around with, ACT UP and, well, in this case, that's probably a gay pride march over in the West Village. Angel, who was murdered, the club kid. Yeah, Dykes on Bikes. So there's a way that there's an energy happening at this time in the streets, both with queer liberation and also with AIDS activism. And so it seems like, for me anyway, the nightlife was very much informed, I would say, by the energy and just the urgency that we're feeling in the political realm. Let's see, and I don't know, this is all 35 millimeter, it's all just documentary, shoot from the hip kind of stuff. And Lesbian Avengers, they had the best drum corps, whatever you say. Aldo, the Irish Lesbian and Gay Organization, that's Marie Honan, our fearless leader. And this would be probably St. Patrick's Day action, where you can see the Irish Lesbian and Gay Organization on the right and the Ancient Order of Hibernians on the left, and they wouldn't let us march, so we had to go to jail every St. Patrick's Day. Polly Thistleway, and I'm not sure who she's with. There's Marie getting arrested. Yeah, we never would walk. For the St. Patrick's Day parade, they always had to carry us. That's Anne McGuire, who's also a leader, and Maxine Wolf. This is the Lesbian Avengers Shrine for Marsha P. Johnson, when Marsha P. Johnson was, died. JM, yeah. So JM and Maria Elena. AIDS march, I think, in D.C., pretty sure. That's Gay Men of African Descent, I'm pretty sure. Oh, yeah, there they have their banner. This is probably Housing Works marching. The Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. And ACT UP. And so, I mean, really, the amount of flourish that we brought to not just, just getting dressed, but also the performances spilled over into the actions and the camaraderie. We really were, the community was very tight. That's Chloe Zubailo and Diane and ACT UP. And this is dedicated to Dee Finley, who died in January of this year, but who was a big part of this scene, a big part of the nightlife, and really knew everyone. These are some of the other people we said goodbye to that are in the pictures. I'm probably missing some. Dread was a big one. Diane Tour. They're all big. Okay, so that's my story.
think, Alice, that you were going to talk a little bit about...
I know, we just came up with this idea like 20 minutes before showtime. We're like, maybe we should talk about each other's work, which I still think is a good idea because I feel like I hadn't seen a presentation like this of yours. I have seen the large format work, the portraits, and I'm so familiar with the ACT UP aids, cross-process prints, which are just so beautiful. They feel like paintings, they're just gorgeous. And I think a really smart way to also represent that moment because there's something so visually compelling about those pictures that we really want to stay with them. We really want to stand there with them. And they bring us in as great art would. So I think it's, I love that the museums are collecting them and they're going to be available for everyone. I guess I was curious about the London years just because that's a chapter that I haven't heard you talk about much, and just sort of how, for those of you who remember the slideshow, it sort of starts with Lola. It's the barbed wire one, Doug, if you remember. There's a self-portrait with...
I think it's one of the first ones for the London.
It is, yeah, it's the page that says London. Just also, for me also, not to compare, but you also are, I think, more willing to put yourself in these pictures and to reference yourself. And I know you.
Wait, you went past it.
I'm going past?
Keep going up. Keep going up.
What?
I'll let you guys handle that.
Because I think it actually even says London on it.
I'm sorry, I don't know this slide.
It's all right.
It's okay.
You guys.
So you're going to go
The other
up?
way?
Yeah, you want to go up, sweetheart? Yeah, keep going. Yeah, you're getting really close. Wait, stop. Wait, no, you're going too far. Oh wait, stop. Good. Hey, stop.
You have to use the mic.
Okay.
Or you can just play it. Just do a Russian roulette. Not Russian roulette, a roulette wheel.
Please go up.
Sorry.
Oh,
All right.
Okay, we're-
Do you want to go do it? Go do it.
do you want me to get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go grab it. I just feel like your pictures are more intimate in a way because you put yourself in them. And I'm going to wait till that comes in. Is there anyone you guys want to talk about?
Their lipstick on.
Nice. Yeah, I love that one. For me, this one speaks to a lot of the things you talked about, but also there seems to be a very sort of performative aspect to your portraits. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, I would often, when I do a photo shoot, I would often then ask the models to photograph me. So this was like, I mentioned it at Hampstead Heath, and, it seems to have moved.
Oh, because it's still on the timer.
Oh.
These are on London.
Okay. I'll just continue talking like it's still there. Oh, it's just gonna, okay. So, that image, I was holding this, it's fake barbed wire. So it's actually made out of plastic. And I would, wow, Polly, hey. And I actually would like get in trouble, like the bus drivers would kind of say, you can't get on here with that. And I'd say, look, it's just plastic. So that was just like prop that someone had given me. That was kind of cool to have. Yeah, I think in hindsight, I'm glad that I did do a lot of portraits, self-portraits. And it's weird because, not weird, but it's interesting because now I'm working on a series that's all a self-portrait project, my Syzygy, The Vision. But I never really thought about the importance of documenting myself. Have you done much self-portraiture,
I mean, a
Alice?
little bit, not much.
Yeah?
A little bit here and there.
Yeah, so it was really a kind of a fluke, but I'm glad I did it, just to be able to look at myself through the various generations of, of me. Yeah, I don't know what else I could say about the image. That was when I first got to London, that's actually one of the first shots I did. And I knew that the Hampstead Heath was a cruising ground, so that's why I chose that area. Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's a self-portrait too, by the way.
Yeah.
From a different angle. Sorry, too much information. Does anybody want to ask Lola about any of the, I mean, 'cause there's so much there, and I wonder if the people want to speak.
So I guess we'll move forward, and you had a comment about?
Yes, yeah.
Well, that one's easy because we can just point over there.
Okay.
Well, I can do that.
We can do it, Doug. It's right here.
That one's easier, that one I.
Yeah, he knows that one. So Alice chose for her photography on the walls to show this constellation, as she calls it, of these photographs that you've seen in the exhibition, but these are these beautiful prints of them, which to me were remarkable, how they show up on the wall, on printed paper, in these antique frames versus seeing them projected large on the screen. So all those photographs, I believe, right, maybe, except maybe one, they're all in your presentation.
Yeah, that installation, as it is, was Every Ocean. Do we know Every Ocean, who's a curator? They actually were the first to present the work at Air Gallery in Brooklyn, 10 years ago at least. And that was the way it looked. And so, and then that same installation later went over to the Museum of the City of New York, and also Ryerson, which is a museum in Toronto. So it's like this is the fourth time it's sort of come out of the boxes and gone up like that, and I think it works. I mean, I don't know, it wasn't terribly self-conscious. I like old frames. I always have. I have a million, and my house is full of old frames. And but for me, it also was a way to think about sort of that it is a time. It's a different time, It's 30 years ago.
20 years.
Well, I mean,
Lola, did you want to speak?
yeah, well, one thing I wanted to bring up is that, and I know it's your story and you're sticking with it, but Alice was unaware that photography was not allowed at the Click Club.
Anybody that knows me knows. Anybody who knows me knows how square I am. So it's like, if I knew there was a rule, I probably would. No, because I was in the basement.
I'm just teasing you. I think it's really cool because otherwise we wouldn't have these amazing shots. So, yeah, I believe you. I'm just egging you. But so this.
Yeah, but apparently there was
there
no.
too, though. But I worked upstairs.
Hey, you took pictures.
I worked at the bar.
You took pictures.
I didn't think most of mine were set up.
And Lola was there in the first few months, which is what brought to me to include her and have this be a duo show, is that we show, both at Click Club and me, it was all about the slideshow. And how we attained those slideshows was to ask our friends to model for us in whatever shape or form we could pull together. And that became a way to kind of add that to our clubhouse, I guess. And it could be of a variety of things, whether it was sexual or political or in between. So it could be images from the day before getting together, or from a demo, or all of the above, basically. Pretty much similar to what they're each showing, but not quite, pretty much, no, I don't know. I guess similar, so there's similar time. I was going to say less sophisticated, but not really. It's dependent on, and that became a thing of carrying the carousel around with the slides.
Yeah, and we used to, remember in the back in the day, we had, we used to bring all of our stuff, you know, like the record players,
Everything.
and we used to, even like the VCR, is that what it's called, VCR player? We would bring that from the house, and I remember going to the, there was a bookshop on near Hudson. I would go and get like sexy videos from there, sexy VCRs, VHS? VHS, yeah.
VHS.
And
Beta.
then I remember sometimes Andy used to DJ, and she lived like on the 6th floor. I remember having to go up there, like all the way up to the 6th floor to get like the records. Danny. Yeah,
Andy's
sorry,
car.
Andy and Danny. Sorry, Danny. Yeah, I remember that. And then I also was thinking about remembering when a lot of the girls that used to work the neighborhood would come in. We would let them come in before the bar opened, and they would just come in. I remember with their little pocketbooks, and we'd give them a drink, and they would, you know, we would just dance around with them. Aldo would be, you know, setting his levels and stuff for the music, and I just remember when they would leave, that I would kind of like, just kind of say a little prayer, hoping that they were gonna be okay, you know. But I wanted to know about this picture of Melanie. I know that's Melanie.
Yeah, it's up there
Right.
too.
Melanie Hope.
Yeah,
Melanie
this is
Hope.
Melanie Hope. And I just kind of was curious, like, did she work there too at the Click Club?
Yeah, she was a server. I mean,
Oh.
at least for a minute, yeah.
Do you remember what year you started working there or hanging out there?
Maybe 92? Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And we would have crossed.
I lived with all of them down in Tribeca. If you guys remember that big loft. There was a loft on West Broadway, on
61.
Warren Street. Yeah, 60 Warren Street. Thank you. I lived in that spot, and JM lived there, Catherine lived there, and then just a whole different mix of, you know, turned over.
For a while.
Yeah. And then there were ACT UP meetings there were parties, ACT UP parties on the roof. There was like somebody shooting a film in the living room is kind of an exaggeration. It was this old loft that was, actually we were under the auspices of a comic book company. It had been Sue Friedrich's loft. And it was registered as a commercial space, so we weren't supposed to be living there. Yeah. So they turned the heat off at 5 o'clock every day, even in the winter. So we had a big, how do you say, a barrel stove, huh? Yeah. So we'd go out on the street at night down, and this was very desolate back then. It was like Chambers Street, you know, everybody worked by day there and went home. It wasn't a very residential area. And we'd go out at night and collect wood and old furniture and stuff off the street and burn it in this wood stove in the living room in the winter to keep everything going. And it was a big loft, but it was cut up. I used to call it a hobbit trail because it would be like one person's room was up here, and then there was like an entrance to another little sleeping spot. And this one's girlfriend was living here now, but oh wait, they broke up. So now, wait a minute, now the girlfriend's living here and the other person is gone. You know, it was very fluid and political because, like I said, ACT UP was sort of, I mean, people who were in ACT UP were, Ray Navarro, were there in the space in and out, and so, because it was a good meeting spot.
Yeah, I remember.
And a Click Club, not Julie, but JM, who's Jaguar Mary, who at that time was going by the name Jocelyn Taylor, was living there. And she gave me the job as a co-check.
Oh,
Yeah, that's how I got there.
oh, cool.
And then Catherine later was dating Melanie.
Yeah.
And so we all moved, the loft moved over to Chambers Street, a bunch of us, and Melanie lived there. So I knew Melanie enough that, like you were describing, you know, we were able to do maybe a little bit more of a formal portrait in the context of this place. But for the most part, a lot of these pictures, I was just
That
just,
looks like the front door of the Click Club, no?
yeah, but I'm saying that my process was much more intuitive, just quick, documentary, just here we are. And, yeah.
And what's the name of the person with the cowboy hat?
So that's Trash.
Trash.
Trash was a go-go dancer
Yeah.
and is now transmasculine, has a new name, Trey, and lives in LA.
Yeah, and so my bar, at the end of my bar, sometimes Trash would dance. And then I think, is Maine up?
Yes, so,
Yeah, so Maine
for
is
her photographs chose to show prints, the metal prints from her Legend series, and over at the end, the main attraction is the performer in red, and then of course there's Sherry Vine, and there's Augusta Machado and Paul Alexander, and out the far end is Raven O, and the other two that are shown on the opposite wall are Beverly and Utah, right? From here.
Utah and Kimberly, yeah.
Kimberly, sorry, Kimberly.
But I was just mentioning that Maine was also another person from the Click Club days who was dancing. So it was kind of cool because I got to have all the dancers here.
The dancers were so foxy.
Yeah.
I mean, they turned it out.
Yeah.
Trash, forget about it. But also just, I can't remember all their names, but they were incredible.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, it was really great. I'm sorry I didn't get to hang out with you at the club though, in hindsight.
Because I worked there, I did remain friends with a lot of the dancers for a while, and occasionally we run into each other. The other thing a lot about the loft at Warren Street is that I got my New York DJ start there in '89 because WHAM, the Women's Health Action Mobilization pro-abortion group that was involved also with Save the Church at St. Patrick's in '89, they held a benefit there, and they invited me to spin, and they gave me a $300 or something, and that ended up with a little cheap DJ mixer, and next thing I knew, Julie was doing the Click Club and I was doing Meet, and we had these little clubhouses when we weren't running around the streets or working or demonstrating and trying to help our friends, community. So I think I want to just ask two simple questions. I wanted to see two things. If you could mention one, two, or three of photographers that are your faves or that inspired you, especially in the context of how you went out and, took all these photos in these environments at the time, and your advice for those who are interested in photographing similar type of events, like the clubs, the demonstrations, people in these kind of spaces.
Well, favorite photographer, Lola Flash. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. It's so different today because there's so many cameras. Everybody has a camera. Everybody has a phone. So it's not only just trying to take a picture. You're trying to take a picture where someone else isn't holding a phone. It's like so annoying. It's so annoying. I mean, it's different because this is all analog, right? So, I mean, even if there wasn't a no camera rule, still not a lot of people were kind of carrying a camera. You would have literally had film and a camera and maybe a flash. So it was a lot. If you're going out for fun, you may not want to do that. You may not want to. I mean, Nelson Sullivan or somebody who was really committed to documenting would, But for most people, it would have been another thing you had to keep track of, or, Also, there was a whole thing about, because people weren't out, quote unquote, and that means they were in the closet as being queer, they would maybe not necessarily want to be photographed in a public space, in a queer space. It may not, you couldn't just point a camera at a group of people. We could, but you have to be aware that, maybe not everybody would love it, Although it is different too, because now when somebody takes a picture, the first thought is, where's it going? Is it going to be on Instagram? And, you know, how public are you going to make this? How far is it going to go out? And maybe 30 years ago, you know, I would have had to literally go in a dark room, develop the film, make a print, put it in a frame, put it on the wall. Maybe it was in a magazine, but it didn't have the same range. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I think I would also put you as one of my favorite photographers. I think that, you know, for us, you know, our stories about this really important time have not been told. And so the fact that we were able to, you know, have this archive of images from that time period. And I'd like to I love the way that you curated yours for sort of went from night to day, because it was like a continuation of just that same kind of energy and anger, but also like love and community, you know? And so I think it's really important, this show, Aldo, I think it's really important that you put us together, because we're both kind of saying the same thing, but in different ways. And we're both people whose work has not been out there. And, you know, just another example of how patriarchy is like, you know, alive and kicking. And, but I think that, you know, people like you are people who are aware of this negation of certain people's stories like ours. And I feel, you know, I'm just really a positive person, so I feel like going forward, like all the people that have got to see this show are going to be talking about it and understanding more about that time from a different voice, a newer voice. And so, I don't know, you know, I think for me as a photographer growing up, there weren't really many, like, I didn't know like a lot of gay women photographers, because again, they were there, but they weren't in books. I saw T. Corinne, I just read, it's just, her book is just coming out. She passed away a while ago, but a lot of people don't know about her work. I just knew because I was in London and she photographed a lot of the people that I know. And there's more and more queer books. Many of them I still have problems with some of them. There's a queer art book that just came out that I think is great that you're in. I think there are still books that are coming out that have a few or hardly any folks that look like us in it. You know, so there's still, some people still didn't get the DEI memo. But hopefully, like with people like, you know, you can sort of like spread the word and like, you know, pull your friends up on the fact that like they're missing some stories that are really important, you know. And I guess that's really, and I have a book.
Awesome.
Lola's first book.
Yeah.
And we have a few copies here. They're $20. There's a few copies at the counter, and if you have Venmo and all that kind of stuff on your phone. And one day, I hope soon that you'll be sharing a book too, right?
I have a book.
Oh, great. Where is it?
How do we get the book?
Tell us.
Maybe eBay, I don't know.
It's sold out then.
Yeah, it's called Community of Elsewheres, and it's actually much more, it's a different series of portraits, and that's, anyway. So, Free Palestine, that's all I forgot to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for coming.